And we'll get going. Alrighty, so welcome to your Digital Power Hour. And let's get going. Okay, so here we go. I know that. Okay, we're all in. Okay, who am I? To some people who don't know who I am, I'm not a fan of talking about myself, so I'm just going to go really fast. So, okay, so I've been working in digital for over 8 years now. And a few of those I spent in Toronto, in Canada, working with a lot of the big brands that you can see here. So before moving to Canada, I worked in a social media agency, worked with a lot of like local Cork brands, and moved away then for nearly 4 years. And I worked with iProspect. So the beauty of that was being paid social lead. I had partnerships with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, all the big ones. And I was able to strategize with their partner managers. And that allowed me then to feed strategies into the brands. So as you can see, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Reebok, Diageo, Home Depot. I worked on those strategies as well. So then I moved home and worked in an Irish agency as digital director for over 2.5 years. And there you can see some of the clients that I was working with. And I'm currently out on my own now with nearly 6 months. Like, time is scary. It's scary. So nearly 6 months now as a digital marketing consultant. And I work with a lot of brands across all industries. But I also do things like training and webinars. So like this. And I also am a digital marketing lecturer at CIT. So that's enough about me. So I have a bit of an inkling as to what I'm talking about. So just so you know, I didn't just pop in out of nowhere. I do have a bit of a background. So let's talk about 2021. I hate wishing time away, and I'm not one of those people to wish time away. But I mean, yeah, bye. Like, see you later. Bye, Felicia, to 2020. Can't wait to see the end of you. So here we go, right? Like, this is a 2020 diary that you might as well. I don't know if you if you saw that TikTok video, but it's like somebody looking at a 2020 diary and he's like, and it's a complete waste of money. And he just like throws it out into the field because like everyone had a 2020 planner and it looked amazing. And sure, those plans are gone away. So let's just like scratch out the zero, add one, and just forget about 2020 and just move on forward. So how do we plan for 2021, right? It's so hard because it's like what happened in 2020, right? You're almost afraid to plan like big scale things or like things that you normally would have planned for 2020. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can plan those for 2021 because what happens, we don't know what's going to happen. So today I'm going to try and cover things that are kind of timeless in terms of what you can do. I'm not going to be like, plan a massive event for 400 people in February because you'll be fine. Like, I'm not going to give you false hope. Okay. But let's be realistic about what we can do. So here we go. Start by asking yourself this question. How did you do? How was 2020 for you in terms of digital? You could even go back to 2019 and analyze 2019 and 2020. So what's your new mantra? Live, laugh, love your data. I don't know if people like, I love those things that are like live, laugh, love, and like everything that goes with it because it's so funny. It's such like a funny way of looking at things. But this is how you should live your life. You should live, laugh, but you should also love your data. So I want to get you into the mindset of looking at your own data and loving it. It's yours. It belongs to you. So let's start, right? Let's start with social. Did you post more frequently in 2020? More than likely you did. You had a little bit of extra time. Maybe some of your businesses have been closed for 2020 and you have had that bit of extra time to invest in your social media. So that is like, so basically that question, did you post more frequently? If so, then you need to analyze how your posts have performed and are performing. So let's take a look at Facebook, for example. You have insights that you can access to see how did your posts perform. So it's all well and good to be putting so much time into creating your content, but if you're not even looking to see how they performed, then it's a waste of time because you could be totally missing a trick with what people really do enjoy and ignoring the fact that some people don't like some of the content that you're creating. So going into your page and then selecting insights, Then going into the posts section, you'll see a lot of this data. So at the top of that page, in terms of insights, you'll be able to see there that you can get a breakdown of all the different types of media and how they perform. So you can see that in this particular instance, photos work better for this page, followed by videos, followed by when you're sharing a link. And this changes depending on your business type. There's no one size fits all for what type of content you should be posting, what time of the day you should be posting at. But it's good to look at how your own posts perform, so then you can inform what you should be doing more of or less of. And then following that, you'll get a breakdown of all of the different posts that you did in terms of your reach and your engagement. Now, if you've known me for a while, or if you've ever been to any of my talks, you'll know that I don't look at likes as a metric for success, because likes they're not tangible. If somebody likes your post, are they going to purchase your products? Are they going to visit your website? Is it measurable in terms of a return on it? No. A like doesn't really mean anything. But maybe somebody who's asking you a question in the comments section that's related to your business, your product, or your service, now you've got something. Now they're starting to show interest and you can answer their questions. And that communication is so important. So that's why you should be looking at things like even reach, about how many people you are reaching. And don't get too caught up on, well, I should have more followers because then my reach will increase, right? In terms of Facebook's reach is constantly declining. So the way around that is consistent posting and just keeping that frequency going. And Facebook rewards consistency, and it rewards when you post more frequently. So you'll actually find it increasing over time. And unfortunately, it is a pay to play platform. I mean, it's established for long enough now that it knows that it can nudge you to pay that little bit more for your content to be seen by more people. And the more that you do that, the more it's going, okay, well, you're advertising, so here you go, advertise again. So just be mindful of that, but do look back at your posts and how they're performing, because that's really important to know, because we do spend so much time creating content. We need to analyze how it performs in the end. And then looking at your insights. So if you have a business profile, which you should, if you're on Instagram and you are a business, change your profile to a business profile. Do not have it as a personal profile, because you can't get any insights for your business unless you change over to a professional account. So make sure that you are a business account. If you're not, literally, I don't mind, I'll wait. Go and take your phone out, switch yourself over to a business account right now, and then come back. Okay, so when you're in your insights section, right, you can break down your metrics of your posts in terms of performance. So when you go in there, there's a toggle, and it's going to toggle by likes. Oh, shock. Don't even look at that. You need to select these types of metrics, because the ones that I have starred are the ones that make a difference. Now, you've probably all noticed that Instagram's algorithm gave us a nice old surprise there during COVID and said, I'm going to change up everything. So it totally changed in terms of what its algorithm favors. So its algorithm is now favoring valued content. And by that, it means anyone who saves content, anyone who shares content. After you've posted, are they visiting your profile? Are they clicking on your website? Are you really creating this piece of content that's so valuable for them that they have an action to take? And all of that, Instagram measures it, and then it pushes it out to more people because it deems it as valued content. So if you use this feature and actually analyze by saves, shares, don't get too caught up if you only have maybe 5 or 6 or 3 or 4 shares. That should still inform you that these people are saving this particular piece of content, so that must be valuable to them, so I need to do more of that. So focusing on these kind of 5 key metrics is way more valuable than looking at how many likes it got, because even things like website taps, if you're getting more website traffic from a particular post, then you should be doing more of that if it is important for people to visit, for people to visit your website. You can also use Facebook Business Suite. It's an app, and it's also on your desktop. Some of you might notice when you're logging into your business manager that it takes you to Business Suite. Business Suite is incredible. So get the app for your phone and attach your Facebook and your Instagram to it, and then at least you can actually analyze. So here it shows you the reach of your posts. So reach is another valuable metric because it tells you how many people you are reaching overall with your content. So it breaks it down like that. You get really good metrics like this, and it just packages your Instagram and your Facebook metrics in one place. It also allows you to schedule both Facebook and Instagram posts from your phone in the one place. Like, it is divine. It's a marketeer's dream. I wish it existed when I started working, because at one point I was managing about 40 accounts on social media, and I could have done with this. I could have done with that, but sure, look. Okay, so now that you have a good sense of how your posts are performing and you have those metrics, now you need to ask yourself this question. Do you know your audience? Have you acquired new followers over the past year? And especially in the past kind of 9 months, where we have been in this situation where people's digital habits have changed. They're online more, they're on social more. So do you know what your new audience looks like? Do you know what they do? What do you know about them? So if you don't really know anything about your audience, then you need to start learning about them ASAP. So in Facebook, in that insights section, if you go to the people section of that, then it shows you your fans and your followers, but you can also toggle over to people reached. So I tend to go to that because, as I said before, your fans and your followers, like, I've managed pages that have had millions of followers on it, but you reach about 3% of them with your content. So it doesn't matter how many people are following your page. It's about how many are you actually reaching out of that amount of people. So that's where I look at, and then it gives you the breakdown of that. Now, you can also use a tool called Facebook Audience Insights, which is a business tool in your business manager or your business suite. You can access it there. And if you have a significant following, it actually filters by people who are already attached to your Facebook account, and it breaks down their behaviors based on their digital activity. How much ads do they click? What type of content do they interact with? What pages do they follow? Even what types of jobs do they have? And also, like, are they married? Are they single? What's their education level? So it breaks down those metrics. If you don't have access to that, maybe you don't have enough followers. I'm not really sure what the gauge is in terms of when you get those metrics, but if not, you can use it to reverse search and analyze maybe a prospecting audience. So you can put in things like people who are interested in beauty or makeup, if that's something to do with your brand. Maybe it's something that's more B2B, so people maybe looking for information on insurance or policies. So that then will give you those audience insights from there that you can use for your learnings as well. So I'm just going to admit a few people there. Okay, so that is your Facebook insights, right? So that actually gives you a good gauge of your current audience on Facebook. But also in Business Suite, it breaks down your followers both on Facebook and on Instagram. So you get a good gauge there as well of who your audience is, their demographics, where they're from, when are they online, and all of those things will feed into your 2021 strategy because you're learning so much more about your audience the whole time. Sorry, I'm just admitting a few people in there. Okay, so now you know about your audience and you know about your post performance. Now you need to have a look and see what's going on in your website. Have you looked at your Google Analytics anytime recently? If so, then here you go. This is what you need to be looking for. So I could spend about 7 hours, possibly 8 hours, breaking down analytics for everybody. And it wouldn't be a fun time if I spent all this time talking about analytics. So what I would tell you to do is look out for a few things. Now, Google Analytics has changed ever so slightly. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted there by the waiting room. Come on now, everyone, come on in. So try to, like, obviously analytics has changed a little bit in terms of its layout. So if you haven't been in analytics in a few days, you'll see it's slightly changed a little bit, but not too much. So things that you should be looking for in your analytics, right? There's a lot, but you can kind of weed out some of the information because it can be intimidating if you have never really been on analytics. There's also the Google Analytics Academy, which is a free resource and it gives you video tutorials step by step. Even if you don't have Google Analytics set up, it gives you a really, really nice step-by-step guide into what you actually should be looking for and how you can find them. So I let Google Ads Academy do that for me. But what I would say is, here's some things that you should be looking for, right? So bounce rate. Are people actually going to your website and bouncing back out? Are they not getting the information that they need? Because if your bounce rate is really high, if it's anything kind of above 60%, maybe 70%, if you're doing a lot of advertising, you need to be looking at where is your traffic coming from and what's causing this high bounce rate. It could be that maybe one of your campaigns is targeting the wrong audience, or that you're misleading people with an ad that you're running where you're saying, here's a pair of shoes, and then they're taken to a dress page. So there's that. They're going to bounce right out because they're not getting what they want. So you need to be analyzing all of that as well. Okay. All right. So then look at things like time spent. How long are people spending on your website? And all of that will feed in as well to maybe where you're taking them to. Oh my God, there's like 5 million crows outside. Apologies if you can hear them. Anyway, so time spent is how long people spend on your actual pages. If that's really low, like, you need to be thinking about the content that's on your website. Why are they only spending 5 or 10 seconds on my page when they should be spending longer? I've spent so much money on my website and now people aren't even spending time on it. So again, demographics, looking at who's on it, behavior flow actually gives you a really nice idea of their step by step. Where do they start and where do they go? Where do they drop off on your website? And once you become more familiar with analytics, then you're able to work better with your website developer. So they could be telling you one thing, but you're going, I know that they only spend this much time on my website. Could we maybe do a bit more on that? Could we move the call to action buttons around? Can we change up content a little bit so that it's a bit more engaging with people, that they spend a little bit more time? Then things like traffic sources. So where is your traffic coming from? Maybe you could do more of Instagram versus Facebook. Maybe LinkedIn is a really good source of your information, or it's a good source of traffic to your site. Setting up goals, which allows you then to track conversions. And a conversion doesn't necessarily have to be B2C, which is sales. It could be downloading a white paper. It could be filling out a contact form. All of these things you can set up as goals in analytics and then track where that came from in terms of your channels, and then feed that into when you're tracking it to say, well, actually, when people came from Twitter, they downloaded my form. So all of that is really important information. So do start to live, laugh, love your data. Okay. The cheesiness probably hasn't stopped. So, there's more to come. Okay. So now 2021. Okay. So like, one thing that we know, right? We can't be planning a massive event for 500 people because we just don't know just yet if these things are going to happen. What we do know is that data isn't going anywhere. So as I said, we need to continue to love our data. So tracking is so important. So using things like a UTM builder. So that's essentially what you can add to your URL in order to track it back in analytics. So I know it doesn't sound sexy at all, and it really isn't. It's really boring, but it's so helpful. So if you even Google the word UTM builder, you'll find something like, as you can see on the left here, right? And if you put in campaign source, which could be something like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, and then in your medium, be a bit more specific as to what is the campaign around. Is it about maybe spring? Is it a campaign idea or like a title that you can put in there? And then in the campaign name, that's where you can be even more specific. So if you're running an ad to do with shoes, put shoes in there. If you're running an ad to do with dresses, put dresses in there. And then all it does is it collates it all together, and it just adds the little bits to the URL that you'd be putting into the ad anyway, or into your post anyway, or into your email campaign anyway. But in analytics, it breaks it all down for you. So you can actually see, now I've done this campaign and that campaign and this campaign, but now I know exactly where the source is coming from. So that's a really good tool to have. Then you have your Facebook pixel. Again, I could be spending 7 or 8 hours talking about Facebook pixels. But what that does is it essentially tracks all the activity on your website, feeds it all back into your Facebook and Instagram, and then allows you to retarget people based on the behaviors that they had when they were on your website. So you can now say, anyone who's viewed this product and did not purchase it, I can retarget them with that same product and nudge them to buy it. So it allows you to do so much. It gives you analytics as well in your ads manager. So if you don't have a Facebook pixel set up, you can set it up in your business manager under events manager. Okay, so what's next? If you want to put all of your data together, if you are in this mode where you're like 2021 is the year that I get my data together, but time mightn't be of the essence. So yes, it's all well and good that I showed you all those slides before, and you're probably going, oh, I'm going to do that now every day. It's kind of like setting up, your goals, we'll say, for January, and you're like, I'm going to eat 1,500 calories every day. I'm going to exercise 6 times a day, and you're really good for the first week. Then it's so manual and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so much. So I'm going to break that down, and I might do a fitness class maybe once every 3 days instead of like doing my own thing 3 days, right? One tool that I would definitely recommend is Buffer Analyze. Now you can get a 14-day free trial of this bad boy, so you don't have to invest yet and you don't have to commit to it. But what it does is you can link your social channels to it, and it gives you your data in a beautiful table and in a beautiful, like, I'm obsessed with pivot tables and pie charts. And if some source can do that for me, I'm like, yes. And it also gives you things like the best day to post, your like best frequency. So it basically monitors what you're doing, and it says you should be posting twice a day, or you should be posting once every 2 days. So it puts all of it together, it aggregates your data and your insights, and actually gives you a couple of recommendations as well. So do use that tool. There's also Buffer Publish that you can use. It's very much like Hootsuite, where it schedules all of your content. But do download the trial of Buffer Analyze and just see, because I think it's something like maybe €15 a month to have the full version. And if you like think about your time and value your time, think about how much time you spend every month aggregating your data to learn. Okay, it could be 0 right now, but after this session, hopefully you'll spend that little bit more time on your data. But think about that as your time, and like spending money and investing in something that's going to save you time, and effectively time, like your time is valuable, so save you money, then it's worth investing. So have a look at that. And like, we have a couple of weeks left of lockdown, so if you want something to maybe try out, then give that a whirl. Another amazing free resource is Google Data Studio. I don't know if you've ever used this before, but it is phenomenal. It is a live feed that you can access, and you can totally put in your own branding, put in all of your own like sources of traffic, and it collates it all in one place. And it basically is like, if you go into analytics and you're like super overwhelmed with all of the information in there, and you just want to see, I only want to know the maybe 5 or 6 things that are associated with my business that I deem to showcase success, then Google Data Studio just collates it all together. It's free. Once you have a Gmail account, you can set it up, and then you just link in your analytics to it. If you have ads running in Facebook or even Instagram, or even your programmatic ads, all of that can feed into it. So it just collates it all. And it's actually really good for any marketeers who are putting reports together for their bosses, or marketeers for their clients, and they can access it in real time. And it looks something like this. So essentially it puts all of your tables together. You can put your own branding to it. You can change the background, and it all updates. It's like watching the stock market. It's like updating in real time, so that you can access this one place, see all the information that you want to see in one place. And then you're sorted. You can filter by country, you can filter by different titles, you can filter it all, and it attaches to your website. So it's definitely something I would say is an amazing free resource that you should be using right now, or at least becoming that little bit more familiar. I know data is not attractive, but it's so helpful, because it saves you time from things that you might be working on right now that just aren't working for you. Another thing to do in 2021, which we know you can do, is A/B testing. So if you're doing paid advertising, and this applies to Google Ads, to programmatic, and also to paid social, create variations of your ads. And these variations don't necessarily need to be really different. They can be a different call to action, a different headline. Maybe you're addressing people in one way and you want to test what it's like to talk to them a different way. Creating those 2 to 3 variations of your ads and showing them to the same people and letting, Facebook, Instagram, or Google optimize what's performing better, actually gives you really good insight. And you could even use for market research to say our audience is actually, they like this type of messaging. A tip here is try 2 safe variations. So variations that are similar, that kind of saying the same thing but are slightly different, and then try one that's just completely like different, because you just never know, and this is how you learn. So try to think of one that you probably would never even think of using or saying, and what if that works? And now you've got this new piece of information that you can give to your design team or to your marketing team and say, we tried this, it was a little bit out of the box, but it seemed to have worked, so let's maybe try it again. And then obviously with your paid ads testing, so testing different optimization for each stage of your funnel. So maybe you're always using link clicks as a optimization. Now you can look at things like landing page views and see what performs better in terms of quality traffic. Doing things like your add to cart versus purchase. Maybe you're always pushing for purchases, but if you lighten up the actual optimization to add to cart, it might cost you less and you might end up getting more conversions overall. And things like custom conversions versus standard events. So do you have a specific custom conversion that you want people to undertake versus the standard events of add to cart, view product, complete registration? Maybe there's something to do with your business that you can optimize for as well. And then testing things like in-platform lead generation across the likes of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, versus on-site lead generation. Are you actually getting more leads if you keep people in the platform? So all of this you can add to your testing. Sorry, I think someone's muted there. Anyway, we're good. You can tell I get easily distracted. I'm like, is everyone okay? Anyway, okay, so another thing, so if you're prospecting, so audience test as well. So if you're prospecting, so that basically means if you're looking for net new audiences for 2021, then you can select different audiences. You can optimize for, maybe you're always targeting females aged 25 to 35 and that's your audience, but now you're bringing out a new range, or now you're maybe adapting your services to another group. You can put your normal audience into an ad set or an ad group, and then you can put a different audience or your testing audience into another one and turn on campaign budget optimization. I know I'm using a lot of words, but it is there and it's a feature that you can use. But what that will do is that will actually optimize your ads to specific audience members as well. So you might actually see that your prospecting audience is actually resonating much better with your ads versus the audience you thought you always had. So it's good to test and learn audiences as well. And turning on campaign budget optimization means that you're not saying, I'm going to spend €50 on my normal audience and €50 on my prospecting. I'm going to spend 100 on my whole campaign and just let it work. It's magic, and see what audience is resonating better with this particular one. And then testing things like lookalike audiences. So lookalike audiences are similar audiences to your own audience versus interest-based. So see, are people in my lookalike audience reacting better to this than people who are just interested in features that are similar to my own audience as well. Testing different landing pages. Okay, so this I know is a bit of work in the old website, but again, like if you're always leading people to the same page and they have and you have a really high bounce rate, that means that they ain't happy with what you're putting out there. So you need to make sure that your landing pages are changed up every now and then seeing how it performs. So even you could be running a campaign and halfway through the campaign you're like, I'm going to change my landing page and see what happens. So you can optimize on both sides of this. So testing different landing pages, personalization is key. And that's going to be a big thing as well for 2021, 2022 is personalization in marketing. That goes across all aspects of it. So changing even simple things like your homepage slider, your homepage call to action, seeing if that changes things. So it doesn't have to be a massive make work project. Maybe it's something that you could even edit yourself. And then checking things like bounce rate and time spent as well. So seeing, is it making a difference to your website overall? One other thing as well is up your security game. So there is a hacker attack every 39 seconds. And it's scary because it is happening more often all of the time, and it's happening to probably somebody you know has been hacked recently in all aspects. So it can be something like your banking, it can even be things like your ads account, it could even be that people can get into your personal profiles in Instagram and on Facebook. So you need to be super cautious. Like, please start becoming a bit more aware of cybersecurity. Now, I ain't no expert on cybersecurity, so do not come at me if I say things like wrong, like SSL certificate, if it's said a different way. But I'm making the point to be, please be safe and please be protected, because cybersecurity is so, so important and hackers are only becoming smarter. So things that you can do is change your password from password 123. We've all had that password at one point, okay? Right? Or like password 2020 or Muriel 1. Like, we need to be a bit more encrypting when it comes to our passwords. So maybe change it to something like, if even when you put in your password, if it's like, that's a weak password and you're like, sure, look, I remember it. Don't do that anymore. Try to be a bit more crafty and try not to have the same passwords for everything as well. Removing the saved passwords from your browser and your phone. So it's so easy, right? It saves time because you're like, sure, Chrome is like, do you want to use this password? And you're like, yeah, yes, I do. Like, thanks for saving me 10 minutes of like going uppercase L, exclamation mark, colon, blah, 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 blah. But it actually is what hackers love, is when you save everything, because it has now access to everything if they hack into your device. So using things like, there are things out there that actually help with this. So one of the things I've used before is LastPass. You do have to pay for it, but essentially it keeps all of your passwords, but it has a password for it. So it attaches to, it's like an extension. So it attaches to your Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using. And it basically just keeps your passwords there. So instead of Google Chrome having it, it's now with like another company. So that's one that I would suggest. If you are one that's like, I don't really want to remember 400 passwords, then you can use something like that. If you're using ad accounts, or if you have a specific page or Instagram account that other people have access to, maybe they're past employees or even past agencies that you've worked with in the past, remove them. Just remove anybody who you don't need on your accounts. So if you're even working with a new company and you can see the other or older agency in there, just kick them out. They're not going to be offended. They're not working on the account anymore. So get rid of them. Don't share passwords in one go. So don't send a massive email with like, here is my login for da, 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 and then it has all of your information in one place. Try to avoid that. And then adding an SSL certificate. So if you go on your website and you see not secure written alongside your URL, you need to have an SSL cert. It's actually quite easy if you Google it and then Google the platform that you're working on. I think they're about €30 for the year, but they basically protect your website from hackers, but also if you have a form on your website, or if you're even an e-commerce website, that's meaning that it's not protecting all of that information. Equally, if you're using a website that says not secure, do not give it any information that you don't want to give away. And do invest in cybersecurity software for your devices. So currently I'm using McAfee and it's across all my devices, and it basically just keeps me safe. So it just, if I'm like in any website that it deems to be a little bit harmful, it will just have a quick look at it and then let me know it's a-okay. If there's any hyperlinks that are in documents that I'm reading, it checks those. Anything I download, it checks. And even on my phone, it just basically keeps you in check. So it's worth, I think that was like €99 for the year. But again, it's just safety. So just, yeah, there we go. So what's next, right? So back in the room with digital marketing, and then I'll open it up to questions. Okay, so you need to set some goals for yourself, right? I know we all set goals for 2020 and we threw that book out the window. So now it's time to maybe have a look and be hopeful for 2021, but realistic. So what do we want to advertise, or what do we want to optimize for, or what are our objectives? So these are a couple of popular goals that marketeers have. So top is always brand awareness. You can never get enough of it. So whether you are happy with the audience you currently have, maybe you want to expand and create your brand awareness across other areas, sales or lead generation, increasing engagement in your community doesn't mean likes. It means, are people actually talking to you and asking you questions? Maybe you want to engage that a little bit more with them. Growing the audience, again, that is kind of more focused on like community based, and then increasing web traffic. So they're just a few examples of popular goals that marketeers have that you can maybe have a think about what's important to you for 2021. If you know me, you know I hate these buttons. I hate boost post and I hate promote because they are optimizing for vanity metrics such as likes. They also are so hard to track if you're running multiple boosted posts or promoted posts. And if you have a financial controller or an accountant who is in your billing account, they don't know if you're running multiple campaigns for maybe various things and you need to maybe give a supplier a quote or an invoice on one of the things that you ran for them. It's so hard to find what post went where or what post is performing best because they're all just called post. So try to get into what's called a campaign mindset and try to funnel your overall strategies and your overall campaigns for 2021. So what Facebook calls it is the kind of pitch, play, plunge model of this funnel, right? We all know the funnel of like awareness, consideration, conversion. There's multiple ways of looking at it. Facebook decided about a year and a half ago to call it something else. So I'm just going with it. So it's called pitch, play, plunge. So when you're creating a campaign, you might want to create it to do with each stage of the funnel. So you're not doing boosted posts, which is a reactive strategy. You're doing a campaign, which is a proactive strategy. So try to think of something that you can run for your pitch phase. So your awareness play to increase brand awareness, your play phase then to get people engaged with you. And then your plunge phase is where people purchase your products, your items, your services. They fill out a form. You now have them as a lead. So creating something for every step of the way in the triple P, that's a better way of proactively planning your campaigns. Try new things. Don't be afraid of Google Ads. I don't know what it is, but people are terrified of Google Ads. Like, they're not that bad. If you just log into Google Ads, just log into Google Ads and just have a go. You don't have to you don't even have to add a credit card to Google Ads. You can play around with it. And it's literally, it prompts you. So it says things like, hey, do you want to start a campaign? And you're like, yeah, I do. And then it's like, do you know what you need to do next? And you're like, I don't know. And then it's like, click next, add your website, select some keywords. And you're like, okay, I can do this. So just try it. Log into Google Ads and just see, and then start small and scale up. It's totally fine. Don't be afraid. Embrace it. Continue, right? So here's a few things to continue. We're not going to be reinventing any wheels in 2021, okay? But we can embrace what's working in 2020. So things like short form portrait video content, TikTok, Reels, this short form portrait style content that people are digesting and loving, that's not going anywhere. So if you are that person who creates maybe longer form videos, try to condense it, try to condense your message as best as you can into this sort of like this style. You don't have to dance all over the place. You don't have to take part in loads of challenges in order to be successful on these platforms, but you do need to embrace that type of content as well. Continue to interact with your audiences. Try not to get obsessed with, I need new followers, because what about your current followers? They're following you, they're engaging with your content, they're reaching out to you via DM, they're supporting you. So you need to nurture that relationship. Like I say to so many people, if you have 250 followers and you're like, oh, but I don't have 250,000 followers. But what if those 250 followers bought something to do with your business right now? If every single one of them did, you'd be rolling. You'd be like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I don't need 250,000 people because I've got 250 people in the room who support me right now. So you need to nurture those relationships, react to their stories, get in those DMs, celebrate their successes, show up, be there. Personalize is so, like, that personalization isn't going anywhere, and it's so important for both your organic and your paid strategies as well. So things like continue to create valued content. So content creation is so important. You can't just say, I ran an ad, I don't really know how it went, the content took me 5 seconds. You need to actually tailor your content, have that like tailored disruption, have content that captures imaginations, triggers sentimentality, creates memories, make people feel something. Like this is an example. It should start playing, maybe it won't, potentially it will, but this is basically a story that Usage created where you're just scrolling through your stories and then nope, it's not going to play, ignore me, it's a static. But you can see that it basically looks like your phone is ringing, but it's a story that they created, and it's saying adventure is calling and swipe to answer. And like as you're going through your stories, you'd be like, oh, I need to answer the phone, but it's not ringing. Really good, right? So try to think of things like, how can I impact people? How can I create that tailored disruption? How can I create that value? Embrace new developments, right? Augmented reality, I'm obsessed with. Virtual reality, I'm coming to grips with. But augmented reality is only developing even more and more. It's getting smarter. They're machine learning, and we're slowly embracing it. Like if you're using filters on Instagram or Snapchat, you're using augmented reality. If you played Pokemon Go, fair play to you. And you understand, right? You understand that it is something that is going to just get better and better. So for even like e-commerce, Michael Kors, they did things like do a try on, tap to try on. It sees your face, it puts glasses on your face, and then it's like, blue looks good on you, honey, go and buy them. So that does work. ASOS is testing this type of augmented reality where you're basically just on your phone and you're like, oh, I kind of like the look of this shirt, so I'm just going to make a model appear in my living room and see what they look like wearing it. So it's that kind of 3D augmented reality shopper, like immersive experience that's really going to be pushed a lot more in 2021, 2022. Retailers like House and IKEA, they use AR. So having things like putting that chair that you want in your living room before you buy it. See what it looks like. Maybe you want a couch. Maybe you want to change the color of the walls, and you can do it in the app. And then it measures the dimensions. You put in the dimensions, and then you basically align it with your room, and then you can just shop from there. So you can basically visualize before buying. All of this is amazing. Oculus. So Facebook owns Oculus, which is a virtual reality headset and software. And they're creating a virtual reality social media network called Horizon. If you've ever heard me talk about this before, like you can basically create your avatar now for Horizon. So in time, we're going to be social networking using headsets. We're all going to be in this room together, but our avatars are going to be talking to each other. Like it's going to happen. They've been developing this. They've used really top class video and gaming developers to create this. They're perfecting it. They're rolling out Oculus. They're making it more affordable. And then they're going to be like, here's a new social network called Horizon. Go on in there. So that's coming. And I feel like they're going to launch it very soon. They've been teasing us for so long that it should happen in 2021. Literally, please quote me on that. If you're like, oh, Muriel said that, like tweet it and at me, please. Okay. And then finally, be authentic. Okay. You do you, boo. Compare yourself to yourself. Don't compare yourself to competitors or everybody else in the room. Try to look at yourself. So now you know your data, screenshot it all, right? Use Data Studio. 6 months time, how's future you doing compared to previous you? That should be more important to you than looking around and looking at other people. So being authentic will really work for your content, and then comparing yourself to yourself will really help when you're measuring success. So to sum up, a bit of digital unagi here. Measure what you did, analyze how it went, and then apply the learnings to 2021. So there you go. Thank you so much. I'm going to get to some questions there now. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Muriel Foley. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Muriel Foley, MGFD. I'm going to stop sharing now and open the floor to questions. I think there's been a few in here, so I'm going to have a look. So here we go. Elena says, what about reach and impressions? So yes, reach is important because reach is basically who are you reaching? So it's the people. Impressions is more about how many times something has been seen. So I tend to look more at reach versus impressions. And then Gillian, hi Gillian, you've asked about buffer. Oh my God, was that before I mentioned buffer? I think it was. Freaky. Yes. Oh, I can see you nodding. Yeah. Anyone? Oh, pass pack. I feel like that could be potentially about the cybersecurity. Oh, and thanks for your feedback, Terry. Cool. Okay, people, use the question box, or like throw yourself off mute and ask some questions. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Maureen. Thanks, Ashling. Thanks, Alison.
Hi, Muriel.
Oh, hi, Linda.
It's Linda here. How are you?
Good,
How's everyone doing?
Good.
It's so nice to be able to network when you're working on your own. So thanks for hosting this.
Like,
my question is, when is your book coming out?
Oh, you know what?
You're so good at breaking it down, like for someone who's probably marketing with dummies, a dummy in marketing, but it's so good and you break it down really easily. So thanks so much. I suppose my question would just be, do you have like a checklist that someone could kind of have around, you know, things that they should check maybe in the evening? Like, should you be checking your insights every evening, or do you think it's like longer, kind of weekly, monthly?
I think like usually if you're really, really active on social media, at the end of every week, or maybe in the start of every week, you should be looking at your analytics. If you post maybe 3 times a week, then every second week or at the end of every month, you should be kind of having a monthly business report with yourself, and quarterly should be much more detailed. So really look at, like, highlight what is important to you, look for those things weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, but then every quarter, like, that's where you should be looking at, how did I perform in these 3 months compared to the past 3 months, and are things up? And it's okay if things are down, like if they're down by percentages. All of that is learnings. You don't have to always be getting better and getting better. Maybe if you take a little bit of a setback, you can look at it and go, okay, oh, I see, it's because maybe I wasn't super active in September. So I'm just going to up my game again now for the next couple of months. So yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Enda. And also, I really wish I could write a book, but if you could voice note books.
I know, you probably can, maybe in 2021.
Yeah. I'm such an audio person. Like, I'm not great at the old writing. So I'm exposing myself there.
No, not at all. Your presentations are great. So that's writing, typing.
Thank you. Cool. Cheers, Linda. Does anybody else have any more questions? Feel free to type them or unmute yourself. You have me for the next 10 minutes. So I know it's always awkward to ask questions, isn't it? If nobody has a question,
okay, I might ask another one.
Oh yeah, go for it.
It's you and me, Muriel. Off we go. No, I just want to know, were you always this comfortable on camera, and do you think it's good to just constantly talk on your Instagram? Obviously it has to be intentional what you're saying, but you know, I suppose sometimes you don't want to let like the personal side in, but sometimes I think people want to know who you are. It's kind of be good to hear your thoughts on whether you think, you know, I mean, for me, it's career guidance. As I say, I'm not a jumper or anything, so it's sometimes hard to make it exciting. So yeah, how many times a week do you think people should go on?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And a lot of people, and I know a few people on this, are like one-woman bands or one-man bands with their business. And it's like, sometimes it's scary to put yourself out there in terms of, here's my personal life. And it's okay to show a little bit of personality, right? Because like, if people want to work with you, then they want to work with who you are, in addition to what you know. So if you put out all this information and you're like, here's 10 facts about this, I have a statistic about this, here's an update, but that's all they see, then they're like, oh yeah, they know their stuff. But if you show a little bit more of your personality in terms of your likes, your dislikes, you don't need to tell people, oh, I brushed my teeth twice this morning by accident. Like, that's like, nobody needs to know that information. But it could be something like, I just found out this interesting thing, or did anybody watch DIY SOS last night? Like, that's good to just showcase that side of your personality, because you're showing a nice mix, and especially because that's building your own personal brand. And people will be like, okay, they know their stuff, but they're also approachable, and I want to work with somebody like that. Because even people at C-level, you know, you could have a CEO who's like, I want the information, but they're also people too, and you need to have a relationship with them. You know, they're humans, so like they probably watch the match at the weekend, so it's fine. Like, you need to have like gap fillers, otherwise it's like, the weather's not great, isn't it? How was your weekend? Oh, grand. Like, you know, it needs to be like, oh,
relatable, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know,
Great.
without oversharing. I wouldn't be out on a Saturday night like, woohoo, on your business Instagram. But
Yeah.
just like if you, and things like supporting local is so important right now as well. So if
Yeah.
you're showing things like that, you're, you know, I purchased this from an Irish company and tagging them, even though it has nothing to do with your business, it's showing that you are a person and you are supporting local as well. I'm just seeing
Great.
here, there's a question. Cheers, Enda. This question from Jamie. How do you stop information overload? I feel like I know this, Jamie. Everywhere I look is new things, email, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, blogs, new course. Listen, digital is so overwhelming and it's so easy to get intimidated by it and turned off by it because you're like, oh my God, do I need to be using this? I don't know. But what I would suggest is you don't need to be the jack of all trades, right? You don't need to be everywhere. It's like a second full-time job to be a social media expert and have all of your channels updated with unique tailored content daily. Like that is a full-time job and you have your business to run. So what I would say is what you're comfortable with and what you're good at. So where your audience is and where you're getting your inquiries from and where you feel more comfortable creating content is where you should continue to master. But keep your peripheral vision on what's happening in terms of updates, because you don't want to be completely oblivious to everything either and just cut it out because you're like, oh, it's fine, it's just another thing I don't want to know about. But if you embrace it, so, you know, read, like update yourself, follow things like Social Media Examiner or Social Media Today. They give you really like nuggets of information that you can take in and embrace, and just look at headlines only if you want. And you're like, okay, I see this is like, we'll say LinkedIn stories, for example, that's a new feature. It's not great, but it's something that happened recently that you can be like, oh, but what if you were in B2B and you're using LinkedIn all the time? Then you could be like, oh yeah, now I have another avenue that I can talk to people on. Now LinkedIn stories should be getting better, hopefully. But it's something that you should be aware of because it could be something that you can add to your repertoire, or it's something that it's nice to know that it's there. So try not to get too overwhelmed with mastering everything and just really honing in on your niche in terms of channels and doing that really, really well. So hopefully that helps. But listen, I'm not an expert on all things digital, and I would never admit to, and absolutely nobody is. And if they say they are, they're lying, because digital is so vast and there's so many elements to it that you're better off finding what you know and then doing that really well, and then just being knowledgeable about everything else in terms of like, I'm aware of this now. Does anybody have any other questions? We have a few minutes. For anybody who may have joined towards the middle of the session, it is being recorded and it should be available on the Republic of Work website. And they do a lot of events like these every day. So do check out their website as well for more information. Cool. If nobody else has a question, we can wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for, oh, wait. Are there any emerging platforms, new or otherwise, worth watching? So like I said, I mean, Horizons, Facebook Horizons, Rob, is coming. Don't know when it's going to land, but that's a virtual reality platform. And I know you're like, what? But we'll find out what happens there. But even things like Instagram, that algorithm change, the introduction of Reels, that's essentially like learning a new platform to learn how to do that. So it's more like, what are the current channels going to do? And, you know, like, how do I keep up with them? So right now, I don't see anything massive on the horizon. Pardon the pun. But definitely Facebook Horizons is something that you can keep an eye on. So thanks everyone for all the lovely messages in the chat box. I can spend the last 3 minutes saying thank you if you want. Thank you. So yeah, listen, it was a pleasure, and thank you all for being so engaging in the comments and for asking some questions as well. And enjoy your weeks now. Have a fab rest of your Monday, and I will hopefully see you all at some point soon.